but they're stepping into what I would call the great spiritual era of mankind's time, which doesn't seem very likely when you look around us at the moment. But my feeling is that we are. And I was interested to hear what you feel, although JP said something about everything's going to go into a very...
Well, we're now at the beginning of a renaissance for Buddhism.
So it would seem the same, but
When he said Buddhism and threw you off, don't worry. None of you have to accept anything on the tenets of Buddhism. We will share from a spiritual point of view, as human to human, culture to culture, from east to west, north to south. You don't have to accept anything, and I will not be offended by you not accepting. You just relax. Oh. I'm totally okay with it. You can come in here and tell me Buddhism is wrong, I don't accept, I don't believe. We can still be friends. Oh. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because there's more to that. That's just one aspect of our life.
Sure.
There's more to us than just what we believe in. There's human kindness. There's friendship. There's genuine care. There's a genuine concern for the other person, not to have any problems or sufferings. I think there's much more that we can have in common than just that. So you don't need to be careful of your words. You don't need to think I'll be offended. You do not think, oh my God, how do I say? You just talk.
Okay.
You just talk. Don't worry. Don't worry. Be yourself.
So what do you...
That's all of you.
Thank you for that.
Thank
you for that. Actually, we were laughing because I've spent 2 days now teaching, and everything that JP said, Renee looked at me and she said, oh my goodness, that's what I was talking about today. We were talking about how much what were the things that we were coming up with over and over, so many of the similarities, which was very exciting.
Similarities, I don't doubt. Because why? True spirituality, true, has no labels. True spirituality has no parameters and borders. True spirituality, if people really practice, true one, is the relationship between one or ourselves, to other beings, to the world, to the universe, and where we're going to be. That's true spirituality. How we wish to manifest that spirituality, we have put labels. Buddhism, etc., etc., etc. But you see, true spirituality, when you go beyond labels, is the relationship we have with each other, our intention and our motive, and how spontaneous it is. So therefore, when you say many of the things you find similar, I'm not surprised. Good people who have latent spirituality, they will speak the same words. It's just, it comes out a little different. Maybe in your country, when you see a traveler and they're hungry, you give them bread. Maybe in my country, we give them barley flour. But the intent is to give. So why debate about the barley flour or the bread, which one's better? So I see it just like that. Therefore, I myself don't have any problems with any spiritual traditions, labeled or not labeled, because karma, or the actions we accrue from what we do, transcends all labels. It's as simple as that. So that, therefore, if we find this philosophy to change our minds better, or we find this philosophy to change our minds better, if we go all the way, when we're in a room, you will feel compassion. From a person, from an individual, and that's what's important. Even an animal can feel it. So therefore, when you say there are similarities, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, there were much more similarities than there were differences that came up today.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
And if we all think like that all the time, if we all think like that, then it becomes a spiritual age.
Yes. Well, I just really, really believe, as I say, maybe I'm an optimist, but I really believe we're stepping into a great age of spiritual, the values, spiritual values. And I know a lot is being talked at the moment about 2012 being a shifting time, a changing time. I believe that at the moment in the world there's more darkness than light, there's more fear, there's more hate than love, but I see that changing.
How do you see it from what perspective?
I see it from the perspective that people are seeking and wanting that. and they will be guided towards it. I do see it.
What do you think is prompting them to look for more? What do you...
Because I think I have this, when I meet people who change their lives as individuals, they're nearly always what I call the splat cat against the wall. They've hit...
Splat cat
you
against
know
the
the
wall.
cartoon where it's
Yes.
like that and the
Just
lights
there,
are going
yes.
and he's completely... That's what I think happens to people. They say, I can't do this anymore. I can't take this anymore. And when they say that, then they start looking for a way to change themselves. And so many of them then decide that's when they're going to move towards some spiritual practice, to look for answers within themselves, within some form of spiritual practice, it doesn't matter what it is, rather than through the material world. And I just see that there's going to be more and more people hitting that wall. And I think humanity is hitting that wall.
And do you think that hitting of the wall comes from what source, perhaps?
Well, I think, if we don't change, if we don't change ourselves, I believe that the universal energies will help us do that.
What do you think needs to change in us, from your thoughts?
What I think...
I'm not testing you.
No,
I'm
no,
sharing.
I know that. It's good. Good. It's interesting. I think it's a change of perception of being self-responsible, being able to empower oneself rather than giving one's power away, that seeing that you're the victim of things in life, to re-establish people with the personal spirit and power that they have, connecting to the light within them to make that stronger.
Take responsibility.
Take full responsibility for themselves and for their community and the people around them. And I think that there's a wind of change in that direction coming, from expecting to be helped by everybody else but not giving back.
I like that.
This
Expecting to receive, get, help me, pour me, not take responsibility, things goes wrong, it's them, it's this, it's that, it's the system, it's not me, and just help me. But when you get help, you don't give anything back. And when it's necessary, when it's time to give something back, you just sit there waiting for more.
So you're disempowered. And we had this discussion today, and I said happiness. Happiness isn't going to come from any external source whatsoever, because if it does, that means that you're not in power of your own happiness. Because the minute you say, oh, meeting a wonderful man is going to make me happy, what a responsibility on that poor wonderful man. Because he's then carrying the burden of your happiness and is in control of your happiness.
And also, you're not taking responsibility again.
No.
Because if anything goes wrong, then you say, it's his fault. Right.
So, but I see a change coming when people will start to take more responsibility for themselves and see their own power, the power of manifesting. The things that JP was talking about today, the manifesting powers that you show through your work. I mean, you are the complete and utter master of manifesting I've ever met.
You know what? You must not met a lot. Thank you. Thank you very
No,
much.
I have to say, I thought I was quite good.
No, you didn't meet many so far. So
But no,
thank you.
I'm most impressed. But that, I mean, you're role modeling that. You're showing people that that's how it can be done. And I love, I mean, you don't need me to say that what you're doing is amazing, but I just, to see you living it out and getting to people by being like them, talking like them, getting people
like
out
them.
there.
I am like them, Anne.
Well, yes, I know, but you didn't have to be.
There's no other way. I can't be what I'm not.
No.
I'm not a god. I'm not something special. I've just worked very hard towards my spirituality because I've seen what you are talking about when I was a small child already. I have seen and understood, and I watched in my parents, I watched in my neighbors, I watched in my friends' parents, and I watched what they're going to be, what I would be if I grew up. You know, it's not a psychic power, it's just observation of the world around me. And I said, I'm not going to be like that. And so I've worked the last 30 years, 35 years towards my spirituality, where I gave up everything for it. You know, people often come to me in comfort, in material gains, and they come in their spare time, or as a hobby, or as something they found because of disaster, or because something went wrong in their lives, and then suddenly they are spiritual, no offense to anyone. Or they have bad marriages, scary kids, you know, projected scary husbands, projected scary wives, etc., etc. And they say, well, I need to find something to release myself because I physically can't get away, and I need to mentally get away. But you see, it wasn't like that for me. It wasn't like that for me because when I was very, very young, 7, 8, 9 years old, I looked around me and I said to myself, I will not grow up and be like these people. These people are not evil, but they're trapped. I will not grow up and get married. I will not have kids. I will not have spouses. I will not go for an education. I will not make the money, have the American dream. I will not have a big house. I will not have any of that. I'm not going to work towards that because I'm going to have to leave it at the end of my piece. And you know, sometimes at night when I'm sleeping, when I'm very young, I would have late at night tremendous panic attacks that I'm dying, or I am dying, or I will die. And I would go through the scenarios in my mind of me dying and how I have to let go of everything. And I was just a kid. And this went on for years. And I said, and it wasn't something that I needed psychiatric help. It was something that pushed me to be kinder. Because I used to say to myself as a kid, if I die tonight, would it be worth it to talk back to my mother and make her upset, although she can be wrong? If I'm going to die tonight, this kid at school who irritates me, who's teasing me, who's calling me racial slurs or whatever at that time, right? Should I punch him? And I would think like that on my little kid level. And it made me recite mantras. It made me read many, many spiritual books of different traditions. And I wasn't allowed to. Because I was an adopted son. And my step-parents didn't have any children. Being Asian themselves, having a son was very important to carry on their so-called lineage. Their name is a very big issue for them. Huge. And I was restricted. So there was a lady down the street who had tons of spiritual Buddhist books. And there was a temple nearby who had a very renowned teacher from Sarah Monastery. And it was all around me. It was amazing. And my point to you was all the other kids wasn't interested in all this. But I, of course, played. I, of course, wanted to eat hamburgers at that time, and French fries, and milkshakes. But there was another part of me that says, no, there's more. And I would spend hundreds of hours hiding in my room, reading, meditating. And when my mother finally caught on, she restricted me as much as possible. And the restrictions became verbal at first, then it became groundings, and then it became physical. She didn't do it at all out of hatred. That's why I have no disrespect for her. It is totally out of fear because she didn't understand. She thought I was joining a cult. And even to this day, I have no negative feelings toward my mother and all her physical violence towards me because she thought I was going the wrong way. Because you have to understand, in the 70s and 80s, there's a lot of cults in America. And a lot of kids run away to these cults, and a lot of people kill themselves.
Sure.
And so she loved me so much, and she protected me, but I ran away 2, 3 times, and the few times I ran away was to temples or to monasteries. And the one time I wanted to run away was from New Jersey, where I live, to upper state New York to look for a cave, to take my books, and in my little childlike fantasies, to go and meditate. And I would have very little. And this urge was with me very strong. And so finally at 16, I left. The comfort of home, my parents, and I hitchhiked up to New York. And from New York, I hitchhiked across the United States to Los Angeles. And I had my mala and my rosary. I did my own money commitments because I didn't know much. And I had my Dharma books, and I would sit on the side of the highways doing my prayers. And I had my bags full of Buddhas, and the other bag would be some of my clothes. And I begged for apples along the way to eat. I wasn't unhappy. I was just a little scared because there were some violent crimes that happened on the way to me. And when I arrived in Los Angeles, I stayed at a step-cousin's house for 2-3 months just to settle myself. And he didn't want me there, but since I was nearby, he says, okay, come and stay. And then I was wandering around the city for a Dharma center, and I came to the University of Oriental Studies, and I met a Dr. Leo Pruden. And he says, you know what, young man? We don't have any temples or anything here. Our name is Oriental Studies, but I'll take you someplace that does. And he drove me in his car kindly to meet my teacher. And when I walked in, my teacher was in a meditation center sitting below some yellow curtains with a light streaming in. And I looked at him and I cried and I prostrated. And I said, please accept me as your student. Because this is what I was looking for my whole life. To be 100% in a spiritual environment. So I worked. I worked in jobs to support myself because our center was very, very poor. And my teacher is very renowned, very, very close to the Dalai Lama, very close. And I worked very hard, and I stayed in, I studied, I cleaned the center, and I supported myself. I received no stipend. I paid rental towards there. And then my teacher's teacher came from India to give us teachings. His Holiness Kechara Songrenji, who was one of the most renowned lamas of Tibet. And when I met him, I just couldn't stop crying. And I was, 18, 19? I just could not stop crying, non-stop. And he looked at me and he says, you can stop crying now, I'm nothing special. And I went. It blew my mind because that's not what he's supposed to say. He's supposed to say, oh, we've met in previous lives. You see, I read, yes, I read Liaison Jamie, you see.
Yeah.
Later we found out he was a plumber from Florida. But anyways, for a while I believed it. Yeah, they found out he's a plumber from Florida who never went to Tibet.
No.
I'm sorry, it's true. I read all his books in America. But still, he opened up something for people. You know,
The means the end, isn't it?
he opened up something. If he can be a plumber in Florida and have that kind of imagination and connect us one night.
Good enough.
Yeah, why not? So, when I met my teacher, he invited me to India to study. And it was the greatest invitation of my life. So I saved enough money, long story short, I saved enough money, I worked really hard, and some people there helped me. And I took off in 1987 from the United States, Los Angeles. My teacher and some of my Dharma's friends came to the airport to see me off. They put a cut on my head, my neck, and I went to India. And in 1987, December, I arrived in October because it was around my birthday. I arrived in December, I waited in Dharamsala, and I received a private audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I received my ordination vows, which is what I wanted all along. And you have to understand, no one told me. No one said you have to. This is what I wanted from a young age. Because I said to myself, I will not grow up and live the life that I've seen around me. And I have no disdain, but I have total fear. And I said to myself that at the end of my life, this is what I said to myself, at the end of my life, when my hair is white and I'm near death, I want to look back and say that I've used my life for more than just copulation, for more than just eating, for more than just talking. I want to have used my life for something that enhanced something in this life. And I have not returned to the United States since then, not even once for a visit. I joined the monasteries, and I was very happy in the monasteries, living in my guru's house, 3,000 monks chanting every day, going for prayers every single day, okay? This is in South India. The Indian culture was very foreign to me when I arrived, but once I got used to it, which was very quick, I loved it. No problems at all. No problem whatsoever. Even now I have Indian breakfast almost every day, idli vada. Yes. With white chutney. And I have to, of course, wash it down with Indian tea.
Of course.
Yes, it's a spiritual thing. This guy gets me the breakfast. So, then in 1991, a huge influx of monks were leaving Tibet because they weren't allowed to study religion or their culture or their language at that time in any way. A lot of them were walking over the mountains. He was one of the people that walked over the mountains. They literally walked for 1 month to 2 months over the mountains. Get jailed, walk again, get beaten, walk in. He wasn't beaten, but a few of them were. And they climb over the Himalayas into Nepal with nothing, just a mug, just a cup in their hands, a steel cup, if that. Some of them, the finger is gone from frostbite. And I'm talking about thousands, okay? And when they arrive, they are distributed among the Tibetan settlements, which are 24 of them throughout India. And their monks, they're distributed in the monasteries. So when they come down to the monasteries, they are so happy, they're so simple, they're so innocent. And I saw hundreds of them sleeping outside because we don't have enough facilities. The monastery is very poor at that time. And in the Indian monsoons, lots of snakes. I've seen snakes in my room. And I'm spiritual except when I see a snake. I run. I lose all decorum. So what happens is, yes. And then the monastery approached me to raise funds to build houses for these monks. And I absolutely refuse to go abroad and teach or do anything because my plan is not to teach. My plan is to go into meditation retreats. And that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And the most senior lamas, the senior monks, insisted, and they're in their 70s, 60s, and I'm just a little punk in my 20s, and how do I say no? I debated with them, but they quieted me down very fast. And so I had one connection in Malaysia, and I wrote to the connection, and I told them the situation, and they said, come. So I came to Malaysia in 1992, and I went on a whirlwind tour all over Malaysia and Singapore, non-stop meeting thousands of people, talking to hundreds of people. And I raised enough funds to build rooms, 36 rooms, 3-story for the monks. And 100 monks have housed at that time. That was our goal. And so that's it. I'm going to go back to the monastery, and I'm going to continue my journey. But that was not to be, because along the journey, the car broke down many times. Lots of Malaysians started visiting. Lots of letters started coming in. And then some of the Malaysians are very, very smart. They'll write things to me like, you're supposed to have compassion. How could you take the money and run? We're waiting for you. Oh, they didn't mean it in a bad way. And I was like,
but they know how to pull you in.
Yes, I said, oh my God, that is so true. You know, and you know, when I went back, I was poor as I came. I gave everything to the monastery very happily. That's not my goal. And so when they started writing that, I thought, I consulted my teachers, they said, go. And then I went, came back, went, came back, went, came back. And I struggled those 2 years. It was a huge struggle. Even getting an air ticket was a tremendous struggle. I'm not complaining. After a while, I stayed here and talked and talked and talked and met people, and my teachers basically said, stay. And well, I miss the monastery terribly because to me, Malaysia's, I've said many times, is like America. It's convenient, it's clean, you know, you have everything to support life, medical, whatever. And if I was a layperson just wanting to retire or relax or, you know, have an easy life, I would live in Malaysia. Very nice, very easy. Weather is fabulous for, you know, for what I'm after. And, but I miss the monastery. So I said to myself, okay, what am I going to do? Just have a little center here and teach and talk and teach and talk year after year after year, which, no offense to anyone, I don't like to teach. I don't feel qualified to teach, but I'm forced into this position. And if my teachers say teach, it's disrespectful to say no. And in our tradition, if your teachers give you an instruction and you say no, and you do something else, if you're doing another meditation, it won't come to fruition because you feel you have more wisdom than your teacher. So therefore, in our tradition, it's very inappropriate to refuse. We have to follow the wisdom of the elders. So therefore, I did it. And these days, I've come to terms with it. And I've decided that I'm not going to sit here in Malaysia and do nothing. That I can reach the whole world through the internet. But I need to reach myself first. And I'm going to build an institution here that is going to house spiritual practice. But that would depend on the people there, if they're practicing spirituality. Because the building contains nothing. Nothing. And a set style or system doesn't contain anything if people are just following it like puppets. but there has to be real practice and real attainments. So I want to start an institution here. It's called, of course, KWPC, or Kechara World Peace Center, and I would like to have all the alternative healing arts in it. The reason is because I don't feel Buddhism is the best religion for everyone. I don't feel Buddhism suits everyone, but I feel everyone deserves healing, peace, direction, hope, compassion, love, and most importantly, a sense of purpose. I think everybody deserves that. Yes, a sense of purpose.
Otherwise there's no empowerment.
None. If you don't have purpose, you don't feel empowered. If you don't feel empowered, you drain everybody around you.
Exactly.
You know that. So therefore, I would like to create this center where we have alternative arts, such as Reiki, yoga, of course philosophy, flower arranging, vegetarian cooking, taking care of animals, elderly, hospice care. I would like to do all of that, and you say, well, that sounds... No, I say that sounds pretty common. Yes, but that's what the world needs everywhere.
Exactly.
It's not going to end as long as humans exist. And
So they're vehicles for kindness.
they're vehicles for kindness and empowerment, and also purpose. One person that influenced me since the 80s tremendously is Mother Teresa. Tremendously. You see, what I like is that she's very confident on her faith, but she doesn't force it down onto you, and at the same time, when you meet her, you meet a person of compassion. And I've been an ardent fan of hers, watching her movies, making donations to her organization, visiting her organization, reading about her, her biography, ardent. And she touched me very deeply because I said, that's what I want to do.
It's love in action, isn't it? It's love and compassion in action.
Yes.
Because if you just sit and love, it's wonderful, and being in a state of love is great. But unless you actually go out and do something with it and use it.
Would you agree, along the lines of what you're saying, if you just talk about love and live in love and love, but you do nothing, it's kind of selfish love?
No,
Kind of,
I
right?
must-
Borderline.
I have to say that I do, which isn't. Don't listen to what I say. No, I think
Borderline.
it's just-
Borderline.
I know it's good to sit and radiate,
Yes.
and there are people who just being in that state do help others by being in their happiness and their contentedness, are role models of how you can be. But personally, I think people become more empowered when they put their love into some form of action,
Yes.
and it's far more fulfilling.
I 100% agree. And in the Buddhist tradition, there are two types of compassion. One is meditative compassion, and one is action compassion. Meditative compassion is when you actually do intense meditations and soul searching into the reasons why you should develop compassion, the benefits of compassion, the reason for compassion, and how to affirm compassion, and that it is a necessary way of life. And it's a necessary need for this planet. Once you come to that affirmation that compassion is necessary, is the purpose of life, then you go to the next step, which is an action. For some people, they'll go and help the poor. For some people, they will teach the path. For some people, they will further meditate to gain more experiences in their mind. There are many ways to express it. There's not one way. But meditative compassion is convincing yourself that it's necessary. Through logical means, through deduction, through contemplation. No one else can force that from you. Then after that is inaction. So I haven't achieved both, but I'm trying to do a little bit of the action. A little bit of the action. And the reason I say that is if we look around us, we look at people, the more materialistically we become advanced, the more people are depressed and unhappy and searching and feeling empty.
Yeah.
The more. I know you noticed that. That's why you told me the statement a little while ago. That why you feel it's a spiritual age. What I want to add to you is, it can be what you say, because when people get so much outer fulfillment, but they don't feel fulfilled, then they look for something on the inside.
sign.
Just as along the lines of what you have said, you can't appease something from the inside by fulfilling the outside non-stop. And this is along the lines of what you say. So when you say that we can be on the threshold of some more spiritual awakening or a spiritual time, I can agree. Why? The more materialistic we get, the more empty we will feel.
Yeah.
The more empty we will feel, we have to fill that void.
Exactly.
So when we fill, we have to look for a path.
Yeah.
So it could be a housewife that's not being treated well. It could be a man who has so much money, but he feels used. It could be a lady who has so much physical problems. It could be a man who's had a severe accident and cannot move. It could be any of those traumatic reasons, right? Preferably not.
Hopefully not.
Preferably not.
Not against the wall.
Correct. Like that cat, this black cat. So therefore what happens is this, is that when we reach that, we are screaming for something. You know why? The housewife, the rich guy, the paralyzed guy, the sick lady, whatever it is, the businesswoman, the world leader woman, like Indira Gandhi, whatever, when they go back, they're sad, they're lonely. That's a sign that whatever fame or name or whatever material success or power they have gained, they can use it to benefit others, but they don't feel fulfilled yet. A sign of not advancing in our spiritual path is the fatigue we feel by practicing spirituality. If we feel fatigue, if we feel tired, if we feel I can't go on, if we feel we don't know why we're going on, it's a clear indication that this path
It's not suiting.
not suitable, or we're not going all the way.
No.
You see, some people talk spirituality, but when it inconveniences their life, they stop. So sometimes spiritual practice, whatever it is very good. Who is to say which spiritual path is right and wrong? Nobody. Do you know why? Because there are beautiful people created from all spiritual paths, labeled and unlabeled. Very beautiful people. So therefore, I usually don't blame the spiritual path. I blame myself. Who says, oh, that's going to make me uncomfortable. That's going to take me out of my comfort zone. Oh, I can't stay up late. Oh, I'm sick. Oh, I've got a dinner party. Oh, but, you know, I'm very happy at home. But then...
It's the but.
Yes.
The but.
So the but is what makes, the but not move. B-U-T as opposed to B-U-T-T.
I love that.
And therefore, whatever spiritual path we choose, the end result must be compassion. In action. And I know you agree. I sense it. So my point is what to you? Is I'm not teaching you, I'm sharing with you because we are thinking alike. And what is that? Is that if we're still stuck on our comfort zone, we must eat at this time, unless we have diabetes or some serious illness, that's different. But if we're stuck, we have to eat this, we have to eat at this time, we have to have this. You know, only if I make this much money, only if I have this comfort, only when my son gets married, only when my daughter has finished her degree, only when my daughter is happily married, only when I'm not sick, only before 12, only before 10. All these conditions when we make, that's not a spiritual person. That is a person who sits in their room, deluding themselves, saying, I'm spiritual. And then after a while, the delusion will manifest how? Fatigue. True spirituality empowers you to the point where you never get tired to benefit others. Never. Example, Mother Teresa. Example, Mahatma Gandhi. Those are examples. They never get tired of helping people.
In fact, what I see it as happening is that because we're channeling that love and compassion, it's not just from our heart. That energy that we bring in is of universal love and compassion. Well, that's how I see it anyway.
No problem, no
that
problem.
it actually flows through you. So it's rather like you're continuously being refreshed by this love that comes through you.
Yes.
So I find that if people, when they're healing, for example, because most of the time I've been focused on healing, although that is shifting now, I'm shifting into a new way, which is very exciting. But when it's through with healing, if you open up and you allow the energies to flow through you, it revitalizes you too. So you can only do it if you're an open channel. You can only do an open channel if you don't have fear, and if you're doing it from love and do it through an open heart. So actually, it makes you feel more energized than when you start.
What you say, I have no disagreement whatsoever.
Yeah.
But in order for that to come, the motivation must be correct.
Okay.
If the motivation is, may I get universal healing, love, and energy, because that, you label it universal. I can label it Tara. I can label it Mother Earth. It doesn't matter. Let's not even debate on the label. But there is that energy.
Yes.
That's it. Whatever we want to label. But if we want that energy to come and fulfill its 100% capacity, we have to be a correct receptacle. If our receptacle is, well, I want to heal so I can make more money. I want to heal so I can look good. I want to heal so that I will be praised. I want to be a great whatever so that I will be above everybody else and I can walk in with my head up very high. Then you just get a little bit of that energy. Because the energy is there. The sun shines on everyone, but if your cup is this way or this way. So therefore, what you say, I agree. Definitely there's energy out there we can tap into. Definitely. There is no doubt.
I describe it with people, it's like your cup. I love that, because I talk about the umbrella. People walk around, that love is coming at us, all of us, all the time. And we pick up an umbrella and put the umbrella up. And the umbrella is our fear, is our preoccupation with other things in life.
Our fears and our...
Fear and guilt and
yes.
those things.
And mostly this kind of... It's sad because when we don't make it, we look for spiritual help. When we do make it, when we're comfortable in life, we're too comfortable to go spiritual. And people are stuck in that. Very stuck. I'm sure you've come across that in your travels.
Many times.
And they come to you, and they just look great, and they have everything, but they're not happy. And when you give them little methods here and there, I'm sorry, don't you find some resistance sometimes?
We're talking about that. Yes. We were just talking about that.
And the resistance isn't because they cannot or they don't have the means. It's that they're just too comfortable. And then life passes that way.
Oh, I think some people come along to juggle that sometimes.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
Mr.
Anything.
Chen? You were talking about having this urge from when you were small.
Yes.
For the layman looking at you, perhaps they would say, yes, but that drive did not come from who you are as a spiritual being, your lineage as a spiritual master, that your sense of destiny was coming through to you from when you were young, that drove you to that need, or that was an inbuilt need, if you like, in your spiritual. In my terminology, I would say your higher self, your monadic energy, your higher consciousness was driving you to follow your destiny, and it came down through you as an urge to be drawn towards meditation and so on. How much would you say that what the path that you followed was from your lineage, and how much was actually your observations as human being of the situation around you?
Now, Anne, observation prompts who we are inside. If we are a spiritual being from perhaps a previous life, from another dimension, and we have that mind occupying this body, the things we observe around us will be perceived in the spiritual light. So when I see a mother and father getting married, having kids, struggling, surviving pain, and losing jobs, working, getting sick, getting old, getting dying, I go, oh, I want more than that.
Because you know there's more.
Correct. Now, for a non-spiritual person, they'll say, oh, well, they really lived a good life. They really support their kids, and they really, did their responsibility. Wow, when I grow up, I want to do that. What we observe around us in the world is the same, but how we interpret it is dependent on our lineage.
Yeah, I would say.
Would you agree?
Yes, totally. And I just wondered.
So therefore, what you say in that respect, I agree. Because many of my peers are doing many just very normal things. And they're comfortable with it. And they write to me or email and say, we're amazed at what you're doing. And it amazes me that they're amazed, actually, because it's just very natural for me. So my point is that how we perceive the promptings, how we perceive what prompts us, is dependent on your mind. It's dependent on, if I may, the level of your perception or how you digest that. And how you digest it is dependent on what level your mind is. If your mind is very gross, very materialistic, you will digest it on that level. Perception is the same. It's how we digest it.
And do you think that through education, because very often it seems to me that perception shifts for people when someone will come along and show you the same picture in another light.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
that is the role of the teacher a lot of the time, isn't it?
Definitely. That's why Tibetan Buddhism, or Tibetan religion, is stemmed 100% from India. Everything comes from India. Not one iota comes from anywhere else. In our language, we call India the land of the Aryas, or the land of the awakened ones. And for us as Tibetans last time, to journey to India once and to visit the holy spots was a very great privilege, and was what we wished. Now, my point to you is this is, I'm going to share with you what we have been taught in the monasteries and what my eminent teachers have shared. And this is not to contradict you. It is to share, because I think you like knowledge a lot. So therefore, education definitely can influence. Again, how much it can influence you is dependent on the level of your mind. I'm sure you agree. Because you can talk to some people until you're blue. And I'm sure you have. And they look at you blinking. I don't get it. And they'll go back to the basic question, how do I start? And you almost lose it. Because I've lost it many times. I've lost it many times and I still haven't gotten it back. And there are some people you just talk for a little while and they go, yeah, not just that.
You can see them shake.
2-3 years later, they're doing more than me. And I go, oh.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, and you rejoice, isn't it? So education, having said that, we still have to educate. So in ancient India, the respect of the guru, teacher, is tremendous. Because the guru is the pivotal person who will change your perceptions to make you see things differently and change your attitude toward others. So teachers play an important role. Why do I say that? In the Tibetan tradition, teachers are highly valued, especially teachers that are very good. Teachers that are sincere, knowledgeable, sincere. Why? Because they can leave you better off after meeting them. Why? They teach from compassion, not from ego. They teach to share, not to win. And they share to help, not so much as to convert. And that's very important in a teacher. Because if we run around the world telling everybody that I'm the best, I'm the only one, this is the right path, you are the right path, you are good, but it doesn't mean it suits them. So we have to respect their mentality, their level. So hence, in the Buddhist tradition, I want to share with you, and I think you can grasp on very strongly, we have 3 types of minds. We have a gross mind, we have a subtle mind, then we have a very subtle mind, very, very subtle. These minds are inherent in us. The very subtle mind is the mind that has no beginning and it has no end. It's one with the universe, literally. Okay. It is one with the universe. This is the very subtle mind. Now this subtle mind, my dear, this subtle mind cannot be perceived during the waking hours or during conscious hours. Because this very subtle mind is within us. From this subtle mind arises the mind From this arises the gross mind. The gross mind is your eyes, your taste, your smell, your hearing, your touch. This is your gross mind. Now, when we are sleeping, the gross mind dissolves. How? You can't see, hear, taste, touch, feel anymore. Even some people, when they're sleeping, you touch them, nothing. You can be talking to them, nothing. Next day, they remember nothing. But they're there, they're alive. So what happens is that the gross mind has dissolved into the subtle mind. The subtle mind is there in a dream state. When you're dreaming, you can see, you can hear, you can taste, you can feel. And all the feelings and experiences you have in your dream is just as real as if you're awake. You wake up in a sweat. You can wake up laughing so happy, correct? But you're experiencing, aren't you? That's what the great Indian master said. You are experiencing. Now, to go one level deeper, when you dissolve the subtle mind into the very subtle mind, there's clear space. That's when your body is immobile. No gross consciousness active. It's as if you're looking at the person as if they're dead. I think that's after rapid eye movement, REM stage of sleep, scientifically speaking. Those are likened to death, intermediate state, which is before rebirth, and rebirth. Why? When you are sleeping, you are still somewhat conscious of the environment around you. If someone does something, you can just wake up still. When you're dreaming, you're in your own world already. And it feels real. And when you wake up, sometimes you don't even know what was real, the dream or now. Then when you finish your dreaming, you enter the last stage of sleep. Your body's like that. Nothing. And if someone looks at you, they would think you're dead. Okay? Because you're in that deep kind of sleep. What happens is your consciousness has dissolved into your subtle mind. When you're dying, with respect to everyone, when you're dying, same thing. When you're first dying, you can hear your relatives weeping and the people around you crying, and you're slightly perceptive, but you're also kind of high. And then when you're finally dissolving your wings into your final chakra, when you're dissolving into your heart chakra, back all the way in, then you can't see, hear, or feel your relatives anymore, but you're not dead. If they put their hand over your heart, it's still warm, because your consciousness is there. Then the final, that consciousness still being there is dying. Then when you have died, you leave, all your subtle energies dissolve into your chakra, and you leave your body. That's the intermediate state. That intermediate state is likened to dreaming. Why? When you're in intermediate state, you can travel very fast, anywhere you want. It's at the speed of thought. It's better than astral travel. And you will perceive everything around you. And for the people you recently loved, you will feel some attachment. For the people that you are have aversion to, you can even feel some anger still. All right? Then finally, when that intermediate state ends, you die, ends, and you take rebirth. It's like waking up from a dream. Then you wake up in a new environment, in a new body, in a new place, in a new situation. Now this mind, let me give it to you on a slightly philosophical point of view. This subtle mind, that is without beginning and end, but that's what's going to become an enlightened being. This mind is connected and associated with your body, but not necessarily dependent. Now this mind exists, and 1 hour ago had dinner and had conversations. 2 hours ago, 5 hours ago, perhaps had lectures and met some friends and people and students. Then maybe yesterday was on an airplane. Maybe the day before was in another country. You see, but that Anne who was in maybe perhaps Singapore yesterday, just an example, is in Malaysia. But if that Anne of Singapore didn't exist, the Anne of Malaysia couldn't exist. The Anne of Malaysia today wouldn't exist tomorrow if the Anne of Malaysia wasn't existing today. So this Anne, we're not talking about your body, we're talking about the momentum of your mind.
Right.
Similarly, let's go backwards now. To me, you look like you're 21. You must have existed at 1 month. You must have existed at birth. You must have existed prior to birth. Naturally, we were in our mother's stomach. when we were there, many people come out later, they recall what their mother said, the arguments their parents had, they recall the hot and cold their mother had, or she had a fall, or she was happy. They recall, they come out, they say, I heard. And that's a proven scientific fact. Now, when we were 9 months gestation in our mother, we had this mind. That led up to birth. At birth, that mind came out. Then it led up at teenage years and our adult years. And right now. So this mind is continuous. Now,
Is that the soul?
we can call it the soul,
Yeah.
because when we translate it from the Tibetan text, there's no English word to appropriate it.
Okay.
So we can call it the soul. That's all right.
Just makes it easier for me to
No
understand
problem.
that.
Then this soul is existent now. It was existent 20 years ago. It was existent at birth. It was existent in gestation. Now let's go back to conception. When our father and mother joined, the white and red blood cells joined, because that's what it says in the texts. When the white of the father and the red of the mother joins, then the physical constituents have formed. The physical constituents have formed, which is okay for a mind to take in birth. It is at that moment where the white and the red joins, the mind enters. When the mind enters, from that, the mind leads up till now. For that mind to exist at the time of conception, it must have existed prior. Hence reincarnation.
It's not the same mind that carries the karma from one lifetime to the next.
Definitely. Definitely. Do you know why? Because it is that soul or that mind that experiences the karma. So if that soul or that mind experiences the karma, that must be the author. Hence, if you're in your previous life, if you've done extensive spiritual practices, in this life, this mind, when they perceive life, they will perceive it on a spiritual sense. Okay? All right. So therefore, at the moment of conception, our mind from our previous life has entered the body. If your mind exists now, it must have existed at birth. If it exists at birth, it must have existed at conception. If it exists at conception, it must have existed prior to conception. Why? If you say, my mind is a part of my body, we can debate, in a very friendly way. How can we debate? There are times where your body is very relaxed. Getting a massage, maybe laying on the beach, maybe, having a mocktail, and just relaxing, but your mind is worried, and it's jumping, and it can't relax. So if your body is relaxed, your mind must be relaxed if they are one. They are connected, and they have interdependence, but they are not one. That's proof. Secondly, if you had a previous mind, soul, prior to conception, that soul mind must have been somewhere. If that soul mind was somewhere, it must have been a previous life, whether it is form or formless. Because previous existences don't need to have physical form. And it doesn't have to be on this earth. Scientifically, I have read just 2 days ago, there are 40 billion habitable stars in our universe, according to mathematical calculation. Habitable that have life forms, but too far. That's what the Buddha has been saying for 2,500 years in India. Now, if our previous life had a life, it also had a body or whatever, and it created karma, then that previous life at conception had a mind, and then previous, and then previous, and then previous, and then previous. All those lifetimes that we have lived, the actions we have created, whether they were spiritually inclined or not, collects an energy. This energy is called karma. This karma is carried over. This karma can be stored in one little bead. And this karma is what makes us experience what we have been experiencing. So, in this life, how much we advance, or how we react, or how we think, is pretty much from karma. Having said that, but karma is predestined, but is impermanent. it can't be changed. Why? If karma cannot be changed, there can be no enlightenment.
And no point in having free will.
Correct.
So you have to be able to
Correct.
have your choices.
Correct. So based on this thought, Dharmakirti, the great Indian pandit in Nalanda Monastery, composed this and is still studying our monasteries, what I just shared with you in brief. Hence, if we have a current existence, we must have a prior existence. If we have a prior existence, it must be dependent on a prior to that existence. Therefore, we have a current existence. If we have a current existence, we have a future existence. If we have a future existence, we must be the author of our existence. Why? Because our experiences are different from each other. If we believe in a creator that controls us, then our experiences must be the same. It's not denying a creator. It's denying the power that comes from us, not someone that controls us. Why? If there is a person or being that controls, I'm not saying not existing, controls us, then everything must be beautiful. Must be perfect.
Yeah, so what you're saying then is if we believe in the God that determines everything for us,
Correct.
we're back to what I was saying, the power
No
is outside,
responsibility.
you've got no power, self-power. And that has been the guiding light of most of the religions in the world, has
Yes.
been this force that dictates. Now, I actually believe, as you, the power of love that comes to us is there for us all the time. And I don't believe that God sits and works it all out and says, this is what you have to do and what you have to do, or not what you have to do.
You see,
In
it
fact,
doesn't make sense.
and if you think of the greatest love of all, the way I see it, the greatest love of all is the allowance of you to fall and to stand back and let you pick yourself up again and learn how to stand. So the ultimate love would have hands off.
So if we wish to accept the theory of a God, we have to accept it with the theory of responsibility.
I think you can have a God or a divine presence that loves and will send love and has created at some stage the mind in the first place, has created the planet and has created the starting point, but has a hand-off approach in terms of interference. So rather like the parents who love the child enough to let it learn by its mistakes, pick up in our expressions of picking up the karma and the experience through karma, rather than if God was coming in every 5 minutes and changing things for us, how could we ever learn anything, and how could we learn self-responsibility? And how can we allow the creative powers within ourselves fall to blossom? I can't conceive of, well, I don't believe, let's put it this way, my beliefs are not of a God that's moving us around like chess pieces all the time. I believe that we have that energy within ourselves, that force of creation, that force of determination within ourselves, and like you're saying, it evolves over many lifetimes.
We have the force of creation, we have the force of choice, and we have the force of determination for our direction. That is 100% confirmed. That's where spiritual practices come into play. The love that we're talking about cannot exist when there's selfishness within the mind stream. The selfishness that arises in our mind stream comes from many, many lifetimes of habituations. In this life, when we've been used to something for many decades, it's very hard to kick the habit or change the habit. Similarly, if in this life for many decades we're used to a way, it's very difficult to change. Certainly if it's from many lifetimes, hundreds of lifetimes we're used to something, it's very difficult to change. My point is spiritual practice is very important to retrain the mind by logical, clear, and precise means, by identification, method, and application. Identification is, why do people lack love if there's love? because two items cannot fit into one mind. Selfishness and selflessness. When we talk about love, and we want to experience love, and we want to share love, and we want to receive love, that's wonderful. But that is only a goal. The method is very important. And the method to think is this, is, why do I suffer? Why will I die? Why will I get sick? Why will I have to lose control of my body? Why do I have more negative situations happen in my life than positive situations, although I wish for positive? So in the Buddhist term, we have many negative situations happen naturally, without any effort to get anything good. So much effort, so much work. But to bad things to come, we don't have to do anything. It just comes. What is that coming from? It's not coming from a God. It's not coming from our wish. It comes from actions we've created in previous times, out of a lack of love. So when we don't love ourselves and others the correct way, we create these type of actions. And when these actions are created, my dear, they don't go away. They are stored. I'll give you a logic. If you do good things, they also don't go away. You will experience positive things. We have many positive things in our life. But positive doesn't necessarily stay positive, because the necessities to support that positive experience will run out one day.
And do you think gratitude comes into that?
Sorry?
Does gratitude,
Definitely.
I mean,
Definitely.
the attitude of being thankful and appreciating
Yes.
what you have is such a positive and uplifting.
In the 7-point meditation, it's called the 7 limbs of Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga. Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga, if you recite it, it takes you maybe 1 minute. If you meditate on it, it's very intense. And one of the limbs, one of the facets is to rejoice. To rejoice and to have gratitude for what you have been given, what you will get, what you have gotten, and even rejoice in the deeds of others who get good things, not just yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you have a jealous energy, or you have a non-gratuitous energy, where I deserve it, just give it to me, I don't care. It's my right. This attitude is, you give it to me, I deserve it, it's very damaging to a psyche. When you're young and beautiful and everything's fresh, yes, everything come your way, but you know that's only half your life. People don't realize you live young and beautiful till you're 50. After that, you still are living maybe to 100, right? It's the same thing. So if your whole life has been me, 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 you carry that attitude, it's not going to work later. It's not going to work. So therefore, if you have gratitude, that is contemplating on the sacrifices others have made for you, directly and indirectly. And when you contemplate on the sacrifices others have made for you, directly, indirectly, a sense of gratitude arises. When that gratitude arises, we become more humble. We become more quiet, and it inspires us to say, well, I'm not going to sit here. Because somebody made an effort and I received this benefit, now it's time for me.
It's interesting, we have a meditation that I've done, which I think sums up that gratitude for other people's efforts. We were talking about it today, about the money, and we were talking about why it's okay to want abundance in your life and to attract abundance.
Yes.
Because abundance, as long as you appreciate it and your attitude is right to it, because that abundance has come from somebody's efforts. Somewhere down the line, some soul has worked hard, cutting down trees, planting things. They've sweated, they've worked, and that has created something that then gets passed along the chain till you receive it, and you may receive it in terms of money.
Correct.
So there's two things here. One is that accepting the abundance, but understanding where it came from, the understanding that it's just not just fallen out of the sky to you, that other people have put effort in to get it. And the other is that that I do a little meditation for people to say, you know, just take anything that's in your bag or in your pocket that's been manufactured, and then follow the energy back of that thing and feel what everybody has ever put into it and appreciate them on every step of it, whether it be a mobile phone or a coin or whatever it is, that takes you totally right into the energy of the journey that's made to get to you. And then you really, really do feel the gratitude of it.
The appreciation.
Oh, it just
That it
opens
didn't
your
appear.
heart up so much.
Let me ask you, after you do that contemplation, which I like, after you do that contemplation, what's the next step?
Well, first of all, you wipe your face of the tears, because it always makes you cry, because you associate with the hard work, the effort, sometimes the suffering that's gone into it, sometimes the joy, but that always makes you cry in a minute. Then you appreciate it. Then once you appreciate what you have, that brings some satisfaction to you.
Now, when you feel satisfied, if I may inquire, is it good enough to not do more? Or is it enough to sit and be satisfied?
Well, no, it's a bit like being in the love state and not doing something with it. Yeah, I mean...
A good example.
Yeah.
So, do you feel that if people adopt that type of thinking, which is very good, but stop there, and they go back into their comfort zones to the next spiritual speech or book or experience, but they do nothing in between, will they advance?
I don't know.
I'm not questioning your method.
No.
The next step.
Yes, it's interesting because it brings the subject up, but I don't want to put my personal situation, so it's not fair for everybody else. But I think seeds get sown. I do think seeds get sown in people's minds. And even though they may not go into action themselves then, they may not change that much, it's like on the shelf, and then one day, very often,
it might open up.
It opens up
at a
with
correct
some other
juncture.
word said, and they say, well, that's what Anne was saying, and it said it in a slightly different way, and I really get it now,
If in this life it's not activated, what do you believe will happen to that stored shelf item?
Well, it could be a missed opportunity, but it could
So
also,
listening to it is not enough. Appreciating is not
I
enough.
think you have to experience something really to get into your...
Understanding it is not enough.
No.
And appreciating is not enough. So can I respectfully ask you, from then on, we need to get off our couch? Would that be a good direction to go for spiritual people?
Well, it would be good.
It's your dream.
Well, I've just written a book about that.
It's your dream for all your friends, isn't it?
Yeah.
So therefore, if once we hear this philosophy, and we like it, and we appreciate it, and we feel good, and we tell people, we talk about it, but we don't want to go past our comfort zones in any way, shape, or form, is it safe to assume we won't advance besides just having knowledge? Spiritually advance on our own, to become a less selfish person, to be a more loving person.
Well, we must have been forward, mustn't we?
Yes. So if it's stored on a shelf, it can open later, can't it? Because Buddhism says the same thing. It's called bakcha. It's stored in your mind stream for your next life and next life. But this is the dilemma. Do we have control of our next life? And if we don't, how long would that be stored? Because it doesn't go away. It is stored.
I think we do have some control, personally.
Okay.
I do. I do believe that we, in our interlife, we do have some influence as to the life we come down to live next, with the challenges that we face. I do believe that.
Very good. How do you influence it? I agree. I find it very interesting how you came to that conclusion.
Well, I've done past life regressions, and I've taken myself into the interlife, as I call it, or as we all call that interlife, that bit in between one life and the next. And I've seen myself discussing with elders and ascended masters and ascended spiritual beings who guide us but don't force us. Back to the slightly hands off.
Hands off.
And we're choosing what challenges we'll take on in that next life.
If we can choose what life we can take, then doesn't it mean that whatever action we do, whether we love or not, doesn't matter? Because if we can choose, it means that we have free will to choose our next life, correct? If we have free will to choose our next life, then whatever actions we do, it doesn't make a difference. Is that?
No, I don't think that, because I think the choice we make is guided by the fact that when we're in that subtle mind state, which I think
We just spoken about.
yeah, that in that subtle mind state we're much wiser than we are in our conscious mind state.
Yes.
So therefore, our driving force, which is to evolve, and will be the guiding factor, not the satisfaction of desires. So when we're in that subtle state and we're in the interlife, the most important thing for us is what lessons do we need now learn, what experiences we do now learn to evolve us and to improve our, I guess the word be karma and points or whatever.
Points. Not exactly. I like that.
Oh,
No, I like that. Points. Very cute.
So if we're in that state of mind, and where the most important thing is, because we're seeing things through a different perception there.
A higher perception.
A higher perception that says, actually, the most important goal is to evolve. You will make decisions about what you're going to experience in this time from a different place than when you're sitting here feeling comfortable and thinking, I think next time I might like to be a Rinpoche and have a nice room to sit in, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Trust me, I wouldn't pick that again. Trust me on that one. Now, having said that, so therefore we go back to my question. If on a higher subtle mind we can still choose, on our rough gross mind, whatever we're doing now still wouldn't matter, would it? Because when we die, we can still choose on a subtle mind. If that's the case, then whatever actions we create doesn't matter. Why be spiritual? Why be selfless?
It does, because our overall being, which that's gross mind and subtle mind, all parts of it, we need to have all parts of us reaching that state of love before we can evolve. If I could, it's difficult because I'm seeing it from a slightly different word. If I could just...
You use any word you're comfortable with.
I
can adjust.
actually believe we have a higher self, which I think is the subtle mind.
Yes.
And we have what I call a soul energy. And what I believe, exactly as you were saying, when the genetics and the soul energy come together, that's when we become that human being that we are. Okay, on all aspects. We're affected by the genetics as well, and we're affected by our soul energy. The soul energy holding, the soul energy itself holds a lot of the pain and the suffering, the karma and the guilt and the what I call imprints.
It's
like
correct word, imprints.
Imprint, okay.
Very easy.
And these imprints can often have almost like an electric charge around them of distortion, and they can be like the anger, the hurt of betrayal, of abandonment, and all the experiences that we've had that we've never actually resolved, if I could put it that way, or healed. In other words, we haven't transformed them back into wisdom and understanding. They're still held in an emotional charge. And when we heal...
They're still active.
They're still
They
active.
can still get you.
And they still get you. They're your issues. They're the buttons that can be pressed. And you react with those still. The process of your life work is to, hopefully, to resolve some of those issues and those scars and whatever on the soul. And to my mind, the aim is to get your soul energy to the same vibration as your subtle energy or your higher self, which is always pure, which never gets contaminated by this energy down
That's
here.
correct.
And it is the way your depository of all your wisdom.
That's
and
correct.
where and our
That
intuition guides us
That
from
subtle
there.
mind is pure, as you said. That's
And
correct.
it guides, that's the intuition that guides us. And when one of the spiritual practices I try to help people to is to align to that higher self so that the guidance of that takes you away from the difficulties and clears the energies and helps you to channel in the love, not put the umbrella up, but allow that love to come down to help purify, if you like, heal. Which to me, healing is, we were love, we came out of love, we take that energy back into love, and the purpose is to get back into that state of love. When you get back into the state of love, that's when your full power comes through as well. You can create, because you're not creating with negative thoughts and fears, you're creating from love and the benefit of others as well. The compassion and the love comes through. And that's what we're working towards. So...
I understand.
Is that?
No, I understand. You don't. Very clearly. Well, you explained it very well.
But that's
I want you
the way I
to be rest assured I'm a good, smart pupil. I understand.
I didn't come here to talk.
No,
I come
no,
here to
don't.
learn from you.
We're here to share.
Okay.
We're here to share, no problem.
And I must let my friends here have their say.
I think they're benefiting very much because they're just absorbing. Now, when you talk about the higher mind that's pure, that's exactly what Buddha has mentioned, that ultimately the mind that reincarnates from life to life, the subtle mind, in its natural state is pure. But with malice, with wrong view, with selfishness, this mind will take rebirth in physical forms to act out those emotions, those states of mind, those imprints that have not been purified. So if our previous lives have been selfish, have been not nice, have been users or whatever, we're not talking about the small elite population of advanced people. We're talking about many beings who they come back very selfish or harmful, murderous, negative, drag people down, or just simply lazy. We can do meditations, as we have both shared, to alleviate that selfishness, to alleviate that problem. But you see, it can be only temporary. Why? The gross mind, or the body mind, and the soul mind, or the subtle mind, is connected. How are they connected, as you have mentioned? How are they connected? What we do here affects this. So therefore, if we do a lot of good things here, this one is able to shine brighter. If we do a lot of negative things here, or even not doing negative, just being selfishly not doing anything at all, we just sit there, it obscures this one. So therefore, when we die, this here dissolves into that, and that's what travels on, as we have agreed. When this travels on and it's time to take another rebirth, when we take another rebirth, what we have done here to obscure here will obscure the decision where we take rebirth. And hence, negative and suffering rebirths can happen. Why? What we're talking about, okay?
Yeah.
What we're talking about is, with respect to everyone, for a privileged few. But for the masses, the millions of people I've seen in poverty, their whole life has not even one iota of chance to become spiritually aware. Not one iota of chance. So therefore, what we do here, this mind, is an extension of this mind. That's clear. But this mind can only manifest its clarity if what we're doing here supports it. If what we're doing here doesn't support this mind, when we die and it's time to take rebirth, this mind cannot have the clarity to choose. I'm not saying this mind doesn't have innate clarity at that moment, clarity to choose, and therefore can take on suffering rebirths. Paraplegic, deaf, mute, dumb, war-torn places, all kinds of sufferings that people go through.
So you're saying that the one obscures the other.
I'm saying that this one extends into this one.
Yeah.
Then when this dissolves, this one brings what it's done to this one. You see, because you can't do everything and be absolved, and then when you die, you're just in this pure mind to choose what you like. Because then everything you do in your life doesn't matter anymore. Why? Because you can say to yourself, well, when I die, I just go to my clear mind, I can choose where I go, what I like to do.
Okay.
So therefore,
I understand.
that's why karma is so important. Karma is not this mystical Sanskrit word. Karma simply means body, speech, mind, action. Body, action. If I give you something, if I give you a massage and help heal you, or if I steal something from you, that's karma. Speech action. And I respect you because you have benefited so many people, and I don't like you. Speech action. Okay, mind action. Similar. So mind, speech, and body. Body, speech, and mind action creates karma. This karma, or this energy, or this imprint, that's a better word for you. This imprint is imprinted on the shelf, and the shelf is huge. It's bigger than cold storage. It's huge. Then when we take the shelf, when we die, we take that shelf with us, and it goes to the subtle mind, or the soul mind. This is what we need to travel. So therefore, if we always say, we're going to connect to this mind, we're going to connect to this wisdom, we're going to connect to this love, that's beautiful, and that's correct. And when you say that this mind is ultimately clear in nature, I agree. But to simply state its clear in nature, to simply believe we can reach it and touch it, but do nothing much, we will never reach it. Proof, 6 billion people in this world. How many people are spiritually awakened? But every single person on this planet will die and take rebirth. And how much suffering have we seen? How much suffering have we seen? This suffering comes from somewhere, and it doesn't go away. Therefore, what we are talking about is excellent, but it's for only a privileged few. A few who are free from domestic, or from poverty, or from ill health, or from war-torn countries, or from places where you have no freedom to actually think on this level. But that also comes from our karma. So therefore, if we always think in such a way that we can connect to this higher force, and all we need to do is connect to the love, and we need to channel this energy, that's part of the answer. Why? Then every single life, we're going to have to do this over and over and over again, what we're doing here. It becomes tiresome after a while. Why? Every life we have to channel love. Every life we have to learn lessons. That means the lessons will never end. Why will the lessons never end? Because the cause of the lessons is not people or disappointment or sadness. The cause of the lessons is our selfish mind. Since the selfish mind is the cause of the lessons, it will keep creating lessons.
Oh, I also believe that.
Yes.
Until you get it, and you change your way of being,
Correct.
then you keep going one step forward and one step back.
So you do agree with me, transformation is the key.
Yes, definitely.
So if we listen to the beautiful spiritual philosophies that we've been sharing, but we don't live it and do more with our lives, and we stay comfortable, nothing will
Nothing
happen.
happens.
Very
So the
good.
seed may be set there, but nothing happens.
But we will understand it, and we can share it with people, and we can talk about it, and we can tap into the energy. But to ultimately reach our goal of awaken is difficult. Would you agree?
Have to put it into action.
Yes. So therefore, if we are comfortable in our homes, and we practice in such a way that we're very privileged, that privilege itself will be an obstacle for us.
Well, I think it's quoted in the Bible that it's harder for a rich man to reach the kingdom of heaven
And for a camel to
go
squeeze
through
through the eye of a needle. Yes.
Because the more comfortable you are, the harder it is, because you're not splattered, but you'll find
You're not that cat on the wall.
You're not that cat on the wall.
Solution?
The solution for the person?
Or
the
can the
solution-
chukish? Now I'm going to bring some water for the gentleman.
The solution for the person or for humanity?
Solution in general for such a person who won't push themselves out of the comfort zone or the inertness, or just saying, oh, I believe in this, but won't do more.
Well, we were talking about this as well today. You can, as a teacher, you can role model, you can teach, you can show, but you can't make a person do it. And one of the things we were talking about today, as a teacher or as a healer, one of the things you have to learn is not to be attached to the outcomes. So if I teach somebody something, if I show them and I give them all the support I can, I then step away. If that person decides not to do anything about it, I find someone who will listen. If you see what I mean.
How do you adjust to that? When that person, you've given so much and they don't react in a positive way, how do you, for lack of a better word, deal with that?
Personally, when I feel I've done what I have to do and I can't take responsibility for the outcome.
You can't change them.
I can't, it's not my right to change them, because that would be interfering with their will. And I learnt that lesson so many lifetimes ago, where I did big time naughties, but by interfering with people's will and power. Then that lesson is so strong in my mind that I never do that. So it's
That's
like...
an imprint.
Sorry?
That's an imprint.
That's a positive imprint. Well, it was a bad imprint at the time.
But you made it
I learned the
positive.
lesson. but no, to me it's really, really important that we don't get hung up on the outcome of our teaching or our healing. We offer it and give it with love, and we will be there anytime. Like I talk about leaving the door open. Anybody wants to come back, they can. But I'm not going to go chasing after them, run down the street and say, you're not doing it, or you're not listening to me, or that wouldn't feel right for me to do that.
If you don't do that, if you don't do that on a general kind of examination, would that be also not going past our comfort zone to help that person?
Or go and beat them
In general.
up? Go and slap them?
No. You can slap them. You can.
I thought about a slap and a slap.
No, all kinds of stuff. But what I mean is to go that extra mile.
Push for them.
I mean, I did my best and I love you and bye-bye.
Well, I suppose in a way, for me, this is one of the things that is an interesting thing that's come up while I've been here in my own life. That I've always avoided trying to be the guru. I've always avoided trying to have followers.
Thank you. I understand. I understand.
Because there's an awful lot of aggravation comes when you have same
Thank you for saying the truth. And you have just gotten my respect. You said it. It's just pure aggravation, is it not? And I'm not being unspiritual here. I'm telling you the truth.
It's big headache. It's
Very
big
big.
headache.
Very
And
big.
we did have a couple of centres, and I saw the infighting, the jealousies, and I
The
thought,
politics.
oh,
Yes.
no thank you. And I decided
Yes.
that perhaps I wouldn't go that route.
Yes.
And so, but then I also think perhaps, and I was just saying to Renee earlier, I sense that there's a message here for me tonight that actually I probably have stepped a little bit too far back. Yeah, maybe I have. Maybe I need to be a little bit more available. And,
They all heard you.
oh, no.
Keep your cell phone on.
I might regret this.
You can do what
I
I
might
do.
regret
No,
this.
what you do is this. You don't take calls, just accept SMSs, text
Yes,
messages.
yes,
That's what I do.
yes.
Because it's overwhelming.
Yes. And emails I've been filtering through my PA who says, look, and I think I'm perhaps being a little bit too step back.
Part of the secret of being a spiritual person is to have a good PA.
Oh, yeah. I've got the dragon at the gate.
Yes.
So it's very good. Yeah.
So you would agree that just listening and talking and believing in what we've shared won't be enough. That we definitely have to push ourselves past our comfort zones.
We as teachers and the people who are listening.
Both. Everyone.
Because, yeah.
Everyone. So if we do that, we will realize something. You see, the thing that I always subscribe to is this. Definitely there are a lot of lessons for me to learn, and there will be many more. And I've learned quite a lot in many previous lives. And the learning won't stop till I'm awakened, till I'm a Buddha. Now, having said that, whatever naughties I have done in my previous lives, just because I learned the lesson doesn't make the action or the result of the naughties go away. They will follow me life after life. And the naughties, the result of the naughties that I have done could be I learned a lesson. You see, because if someone kills someone and goes to jail and they regret it, they go to jail, they have to still go to jail. They will not be released from jail just because they regret it and they learned a lesson. They still have to be in prison. So my previous lives that I've done naughties, I've done quite a lot too, they will follow me life after life until they're purified.
Yeah.
They will not be purified on the basis of learning a lesson. They will be purified on the basis of taking remedial action. For example, if I've stolen a lot in this life, I should never steal again, and I must give. So realizing that I've stolen, and that's created my poverty, will not be enough. Learning the lesson of it will not be enough. For me, I actually have to do remedial action, something positive. So if my previous life, if I kill people and I learned my lesson that I saw the tears, I saw the family, I saw people breaking up, I saw the pain, and I said, oh my God, this is what I did. I will never do it again. But having learned the lesson of seeing the pain and experiencing the pain, the karma will still follow me.
And the guilt will be the pain that you carry then.
Guilt arises from karma because there's action there still potent. You know why? As you said, you put it on the shelf, right? That action is put on the shelf. And it will manifest in the future and get us.
Oh, you know, I had to live life after life after life of spending my whole life bringing in light because I was naughty. I listened to the dark forces and used the dark energy because it was easier because it would agree to do anything. Because I was a child.
Yes, it would agree to do anything.
So I was asking my masters to bring in, send energy in to do something, and it was to tamper with someone's free will. And they said, no. And I'm thinking, oh. And then a voice said, we'll help you. I said, oh, good. And I tell people that I was very naughty in that lifetime because I was a man and I had an ego.
Oh, I got your joke. I just wanted to give you, I wanted to give you a joke back, but I wanted to save it for later.
I wanted the other guys to get it. Anyway.
Oh, they get it. They get it, but they're enthralled by your story.
Anyway, the bad guys kept coming, and then in the end I was rescued, thank God. But when I left this earthly plane, this is the realization how really bad I'd been. Was then I had to live out that karma for lifetime after lifetime,
Correct.
dedicating my life, and sometimes through quite a lot of suffering for it, because I had to forsake personal relationships and all
You have to
sorts of
lose a
things.
lot.
Lose
You have to
a lot.
experience a lot of pain again and again.
Definitely, to bring the light back in that I stole effectively.
You see, you're just using different terms, but we're speaking the exact same language, my dear. You're just speaking you're trying to get used to my language here.
Yeah.
And you're struggling because you've never heard it, and I understand and I appreciate it. You're saying exactly what I'm saying. You said, and let's not get into personal stuff, you said that you were naughty, and because of that you have to experience a lot of pain and loss for many lifetimes before you can bring the light in. The light to me is yourself, who you really are, not a person who creates pain. Now, that's exactly what I was saying. If we have committed these naughties, this life and previous life, they do not go away by realization. They start to go away when we realize and we do something about it. This is what I was sharing with you, and I think we are in agreement.
I got it.
Correct. So therefore, just because we learned our lesson, the light doesn't come. Just because we learned our lesson, we're not out of jail. Just because we learned our lesson, the Supreme Judge doesn't say, okay, you can go out of jail, you'll be a good citizen. You still have to pay for what you did. But you'll be a good model citizen, good model person in jail. You can leave early on good behavior. Example, similarly, in spiritual practice, whatever we have done in our previous lives and this life, good and bad, does not go away. And that is our obstruction. Hence, if those actions we have done do not go away simply by realizing them, we have to apply remedial action. That's what you experience. I mean, part of it is the loss you've experienced and accepting the loss and the pain. That purifies that deed.
And then the service.
Yes. To do the opposite.
To spend all my life working for others.
Yes. That's exactly what I shared with you a few minutes ago. Not only to accept, but experience the pain also. It cannot be helped. And then do the opposite to make sure others don't experience the pain. When you do that, then that action is purified. That's what we call karma.
Do you think that certain people, do you believe that every soul has a different purpose and mission right from almost its beginning of conception? Do you think that, or do you think that every soul starts off with exactly the same mission for its whole journey through life? Because I sense that there are some souls that are almost created to be teachers, to be leaders, or to be, in different roles, almost helpers in different ways.
Lovers, people
Yes.
who help you to love.
Yes, yes.
What I want to tell you is, I ascribe to that thought 100%. What we call those in Tibetan Buddhism are tulkus or emanations. Those are beings who have achieved something very high in their practices, in their meditational practices many lifetimes ago. And they consciously choose a place and a body to come back to teach. And they consciously endure problems, sufferings, and difficulties. They suffer without suffering. They accept the suffering, but they don't suffer. And what they do is they are not beings who are here to learn. They are not beings who have not learned. They are beings who are learn it, but act in a very ordinary manner, act in a very acceptable manner, and don't walk on water and open the ocean. They just act in a very normal manner, and they exude an energy of wishing to help you. And you can feel it. You can't talk. You can't point your fingers. And these beings have already been attained many lifetimes ago. But they return again and again. Why? Out of compassion. Because to be attained and sit there in the middle of the universe and just be happy with yourself is like a rich house husband doing nothing while the wife goes to work, playing golf all day. I mean, it doesn't help, does it? So, and then that would defeat the very description of an enlightened person. A person who's enlightened or awakened, or who can contact awakened masters, will take on the qualities of who they contact. If they are contacting awakened masters, they have to be living embodiments of compassion, living embodiments of wisdom, and they never get tired of working for others. That is a sign of an awakened person. That is a sign of an awakened person who can contact higher beings. Definitely, I agree to that. Definitely. You call it ascended masters. I call it the same thing. But in Tibetan, we call it Hla. Now, Hla. Hla means a master. H-L-A. Hla. So therefore, what happens is this, is that when we can contact awakened masters, when we can contact, and they are truly awakened, over the years of contacting them, we have to take on their qualities. If we are still the bored house husband, if we are still the bored businessman, if we are still the bored vegetarian cook, and we just sit there and do our same thing, but we tell people we're contacting them, after a while we'll feel fatigued. Do you know why? It's false.
It's like out of your integrity.
Correct. Very good. You really just cut it out in one sentence. I like it. I'm going to take you around when I go lecturing. I'm going to just talk on and on and on, and when people are falling asleep, I say, Anne, take over. So just summarize it, please. She just cuts it in one sentence. Very sharp lady. So therefore, if we are really contacting these masters, we have to embody their qualities. And when we don't embody their qualities, then we create doubt in people's minds, in them and in us and we ourselves.
You get a fear, actually.
Yes, fear.
I've done some of that channeling of masters, and when I first started to do it, I was panicking because I felt, oh my God, these people, these energies are so beautiful. I'm not worthy for this. After a while, you start thinking, well, if it works and it comes through and it's beautiful, then it must be okay. Quite nerve-wracking.
Yes, Jennifer?
How, in this contacting or communicating with the ascended masters, how can we be sure if they are the real ones?
The dark forces can take on the form of masters and fool us. The very fact that we are not sure is already dangerous. Yeah. So if we always contact them without a qualified person, they can eventually get us 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years. Do you know why? They have long, long lifespan, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. Hundreds. I'll give you an example. An ant or a cockroach can pass thousands of generations before we die. To them, we are like a titan. But actually, to us, our lives are short. So therefore, if we contact these ascended masters, real ascended masters can appear, or the dark forces can appear, appearing as a enlightened master. And when we don't know the difference, they will tell us everything right. They will exude love and compassion. Do you know why? They know they can fool us. Why do they do that? Because they are lonely. Because they are angry. Because they haven't resolved their lessons. Because they have not moved on. And so they manifest in states of existences that they still disturb others. How is that possible? Look at the people in the world. How many people just disturb other people because they're disturbed? Because they're unhappy. Not because of anything. Not because of you. You just happen to be at the wrong place. So if people can think like that, those ascended masters that are false are just people in another form, another energy. So therefore, if we contact them, one clear sign that it's the wrong one is we will feel fatigued. We'll feel depressed. We'll feel doubt after a while. That is one clear indication that we can check with ourselves. No one else can see us. But if one way of doing this is there are people who can and have established who are ascended masters, who are real, that's been tested through time, through thousands of years. Example, Setra. So if these masters for hundreds and thousands of years have relied on Setra, and have prayed to Setra, and trust him, and say he is ascended, and he has done nothing wrong, and it's been hundreds of generations, we can rely on that. Because why? Our gurus have tested it for us. Our gurus have tested it for us, and I'm sorry to say it this way, have taken responsibility to check it for us until we can take responsibility ourselves. You cannot throw responsibility on an infant and say, just you make your way. You have to nurture them. Similarly, until you're spiritually advanced, we need a guru. We need a teacher. We need a mentor. We need a spiritual pastor, whatever you want to call it, a sadhu. Why? They should be advanced. Because if someone spent 30, 40, 50, 60 years in advancing their spiritual practice, and we have not, they should be more advanced. Therefore, by contacting these beings, if we contact these beings, it can be potentially damaging to us. Maybe not immediately, because their deception is very well planned. So how? We need to either know their qualities ourselves. If we cannot judge their qualities, we have to be careful. Then we have to ask someone to check for us who we are sure can. But ultimately, no one can check for us. We have to check how we feel at the end of the day. If at the end of the day there's fatigue, depression, confusion, mental fatigue, something's wrong. Because benefiting others for spiritually awakened beings energizes them. Giving love, benefiting others, bringing other people to another level, and relieving others of their sufferings for a truly awakened being. It will energize them, make their day, make them happy. They will never get tired or mentally fatigued of helping others. And over the years, they will do more and more and more, and their work will expand tremendously. Why? How do you get tired of benefiting others? Each new person that gets relieved or gets help or love or care will bring even more tears to your eyes of happiness as if it was the first time. Being in love is always like the first time. Because after a while you go, it's him again. Right? So if it's like that with an ascended master, either he's not ascended, or you're not ascending, or she is not ascended, or you're not ascending, or both of you are not ascended. And that's how we check.
Yeah. And you get this feeling in your heart too. The heart tells you. It expands when you talk to an ascended master.
I'm sure you read Mother Teresa's last journals. After she passed away, they published it in Time. You know what she said? And I found it even more inspirational. She said, I lost faith in God in the end. God never showed me any signs. He never manifested to me. He never spoke to me. I never had a dream. I just prayed my whole life. I just lost faith in God. And I don't know if he's there or not. I'm not denying and not accepting, but it's just very hard for me to accept. But I did not lose faith in humanity and their suffering. And every single child that I saved from abortion, every single hungry person that I gave food to, they thanked me and they had tears in their eyes. She says, I never lost faith in that. That's why I did my work to the end. And when I read that, it blew my mind for such a high Catholic nun to confess that. But I thought it was beautiful. Somebody was honest to the end. Somebody was really spiritual.
That is really honest, isn't it?
Yes. Because her whole life and her work is based on God.
Yeah.
Yet she doesn't believe in him anymore. Because he showed no signs to her. That's what she said in her journal.
Yeah.
And I read it many times. I said,
He did really, didn't he? Because he came through the people.
yes. But you see, the thing is this, is that what I like about her is her spirituality wasn't dependent on something from the outside.
No.
That's what I like about her.
Well, also, she walked her talk, didn't she? She
Definitely.
actually-
Definitely. To the last breath, she was concerned about other people. And you know, when you visit her centers that I have in India, the minute you step in, you cry till the minute you leave. You don't know why. You just cannot help it. You cannot stop crying. Well, part of me was ashamed because I was comfortable in doing nothing in the monastery. The other part of me was saying, I wasted so much years just just talking about the philosophy and not doing much and being comfortable. And I said to myself, this is what I said to myself, I'm not going to be the privileged few that talk about philosophy and understand and get the line and pray and do nothing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be one of the masses. I'm going to work. Yeah, and because being comfortable at home and not pushing yourself, and you can't be uncomfortable in any way, shows zero compassion. Why? To serve others, you have to absorb their pain. You have to absorb their schedule, their timing, their thinking, their being, their level. And if you can't absorb their pain, what compassion are you talking about? What Ascended Master is talking to you? Because the Ascended Masters that I contact never gives me 5 minutes break.
Oh, never.
Never.
Oh.
And if you die and go there, you know what they say to you? Go back.
Oh, absolutely. We're not ready for you yet. Get on.
Oh, that's not what they say to me.
I'm told I haven't even started my work yet. So you don't think you've been sit back and do nothing now. You've only just started. And I know she's the same. The same.
What they say, what we were talking about earlier is this is very clear. Is yes, there are Ascended Masters. There's no doubt. There are higher beings that we can label what we want. In your terminology, you say Ascended Masters, I accept. It's just a label, but we're talking about the same thing. The most important thing is not contacting them. And if we can contact, that's wonderful. The most important thing is not contacting it. The most important thing is becoming them. Mm. And we can never become them by being selfish, by being irresponsible, by not taking responsibility, and by not caring. And by being comfortable and staying with our comfort zone, we'll be talking to them for the rest of eternity. What's the point? I can sit there and talk to the Dalai Lama for the next 20 days, but if I don't want to do anything, after I leave, I'll just say, oh, it was such a beautiful experience. Oh, it was so wonderful. He was so enlightened, so compassionate at the end. I can hang out with Mother Teresa for a whole year and kiss her feet every day. But if I go home and do nothing, and then talk to her picture, but I stay home, eat, relax, I don't want to push myself, what's the point?
Yeah,
you agree with that?
Totally. It's what you do, not what you say.
Yes. So therefore, Ascended Masters are only proven by your actions. Because they do exist, but we can make them not exist in other people's minds if we don't walk the talk. They can disappear from people's consciousness if we don't walk the talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Questions?
Go on, Renee.
No, gosh.
She's got a question.
I'm still assimilating the
Renee is saying, you know what? I'm going to get this out on the canvas. Don't confuse me more. Very cute.
Can I ask on your behalf?
You can ask anything.
Well, she's got a question. And that is, how does one... What's the word? How does one stay in...
arrive at a state of unconditional love?
Arrive at the state of unconditional love all the time.
Okay, good.
I mean, being human beings, we do get aggravated.
Okay, good. But your human being is impermanent. Your human form is impermanent. Your human existence is impermanent. There are 6 realms of existence that is classified within the universe. Since your human form is impermanent, then the situation and the environment that can affect your mind can also change. For example, if you work in a hospital of the deaf and dying all day long, your unconditional love cannot be yoga. But if we stay in a nice little house, up in the 10th house, and we're surrounded by luxuries and money is easy, we don't have to work, and we just go on the net, or we do our little family, and little TV, and do our little manicure cartoon, and 2 times last night, and we do nothing, then unconditional love will never happen. If you don't put yourself in a situation where unconditional love can happen, because you don't want to take your comfort zone, so talking about it, wanting, praying for it, admiring it, listening, and saying wow, and reading it, will never think unconditional. Why? Because unconditional love means without love and love. So if you're ready to give up what you love, and you're ready to give up what you don't love, which is hardworking and living in others, and you're ready. The unconditional love can only be attained if you adopt what you don't love, and you give up what you love. That's the deepest thing. That's the big thing. So hence, all we're doing at this stage is admiring unconditional love and making, excuse me if I can, but I'm human. You keep on saying I'm human. In Buddhist terms, our particular position, the best, most positive way to achieve unconditional love, what we call in Sanskrit bodhicitta, unconditional love within human form. Why? If you're reincarnated as a deva or a demigod, your pleasure and your comfort and your lifestyle is thousands of years, and you will always be in comfort. You will never think of anything spiritual. Why? It's too comfortable. In the lower realms, such as animal or the various hells, hot and cold, or as a spirit, you are suffering too much to even have the moment to think something spiritual. So when you're in the lower realms, you will not think anything spiritual because you're just trying to get away from the pain. When you're in the higher realm, you will not think of any pain because you want to continue your enjoyment of the pleasure. So hence, the best place to develop this unconditional love, this bodhicitta, this spiritual awakening is not next life. It's not previous life. It's now in human life. It's not when you're 40, 60, 70. It's when you realize, I need to achieve it before it's too late. So by saying that I'm human and therefore I'm subject to error is correct, but it becomes an attachment. It becomes a statement to stop us from doing more. So hence, when you say I'm only human and I get aggravated and unhappy, if we keep running from the aggravation, if we keep running from the unhappiness, it means we need to embrace it. Because we are running away from it for ourselves, or we can't deal with their pain. So if we always run away from other people's pain and we do nothing for them, unconditional love can never arise. Unconditional love, let me repeat the definition, is very simple. To adopt what you don't love and to abandon what you do love. Hence all the spiritual masters, and I'm not telling you to do this, okay? Hence all the awakened masters lived alone, lived a life of simplicity, lived a life of service to others, current and past and future. So if we live a life of servicing ourselves, unconditional love cannot arise. Reciting mantras, doing meditation, reading, admiring, talking to ascended masters can never bring us to unconditional love. But it can give us the awareness of it and knowledge that it exists. But it can never bring that because they cannot impose their will on us. Their attainments, their unconditional love cannot be transferred to us. So by praying, contacting, talking, using them to heal others, it's wonderful. It's okay if they're real and we have the discerning eye to check if they're real or not. It's wonderful. There's nothing wrong. There are many Tibetan channelers and healers. Many. But in the Tibetan tradition, we have certain texts that tell you step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. If you follow those steps carefully, you ensure that you're contacting an assured master, a clean master. Why? Because of thousands of years of check and struggle handed down. Some people call that established religion. I don't like established religion, but I like that someone else very advanced previously in previous generations checked for me, because I make me scared. So if you go to India and you tell me, I went here, use this travel agent, use this transportation, take this train at this time, stay at this hotel, it's safe, it's nice, blah, 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 I'm going to do it. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to say, I'm going to go there and experience it myself. No thanks. I went to India with no guidance experience myself. I got it. I got robbed. They took my bag for the train. I got sick, diarrhea, robbed. My point is this, is that if someone else has been there and they can tell you how to go, why not? Why not? So therefore, unconditional love exists. If we resist, we will only admire it, and when we pass from our lives, we might take a further birth or existence that we will have no opportunity to experience it again. And that's the frightening part. So no matter how old we are, no matter what we think we all want the same thing. We want love. We want acceptance. We want happiness. All of us want the same thing. Since we want the same thing, the message is the same. So if we still are afraid of pain, afraid of work, afraid of effort, afraid of pushing ourselves, we will stay exactly as we are. So as mere mortals like me, who are in search of achieving unconditional love, I'm doing everything I'm doing that I don't want to be. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to be in Malaysia. I don't want to live with lay people. I don't want to raise funds. I don't want to build a monastery here. I don't want to have students. I don't want to counsel hundreds of students. I don't want to teach the same thing year after year. I don't want to produce books. I don't want to be scorned and laughed at and criticized on the net for anything that they might not like what I've said. I don't want to be scrutinized. I don't want to be watched and always examined. I don't want to be finger pointed. And I get that every single day for the last 17 years. You know why I do it? Because I want unconditional love. I slept outside. I starved in the monastery. I've had no money until I was around 41, 42. Nothing. There were times that I walked all over KL. I lived in small apartments and walked all over KL in the rain because I had no money. I slept outside in the United States. Do you know why? Because I wanted unconditional love. I didn't say I want this, but this is what I needed to go through. It's only around the age of 42, 43, 44, I started finding people who will sponsor and help and assist. I lost my youth. I lost everything that I was comfortable with in America. I lost my family. I lost my parents. My mother and father disowned me when I put on the red robes. I lost everything in order to be in this room to share with you my knowledge. Everything. So if you're willing to do that, then you will be able to find that unconditional love. Why? I abandoned everything that I thought would bring me comfort. And everything that brings me pain, I had to adopt. I don't like meeting people, no offense. I'm not a social person. I don't like having a big address book full of people and I go for this dinner, that lunch, this dinner. It's boring to me. I don't like to travel. I don't like to raise funds. You know why? I don't want to open my mouth and beg people for money to build this, build this, build this. You know why? Because they don't believe you. They scrutinize. They look at you. They say, uh-oh, here comes Mr. Money Monk. I don't like that. But when the monastery says they need help, and recently they sent another letter, I've got to beg. Without help, the begging bowl means to beg. So if you want unconditional love and respect and people to listen to you and you want to spread this message, you have to adopt everything you don't love. Because if you're not willing to, then don't talk about it. Because when people listen to you, they go, oh, sounds nice. But the talk is nice. They're not even walking, they're just crawling. And that's the decision I feel. And you know what propels me is every single day, really I do. I do a meditation on how my body can dissolve. I do a meditation on how they put me in a box and how they put me under the ground, 6 feet under, and how I start rotting away. I do that meditation quite often. And I think about how my body rots away, how everything disintegrates, and I'm looking at it. And all the fears I had goes away immediately. Because I say, when I reach that stage, all that I've done doesn't matter anymore. So I might as well do the best I can. What's the fear? So if we want unconditional love, we have to push ourselves with reality. Talking to Ascended Masters brings us to a level. But talking to the real Ascended Master, what's the real Ascended Master? Our imminent death is the best guru. Why? That is for everyone. No one. Look, within 50 years, easily everybody in this room will be dead. Every single person in this room will be dead. Even us talking and being here and communicating is gone. It won't even be remembered. But your mind will reincarnate. Your mind will take on a new life. That's why I was happily discussing with Anne, so you interfere. That's why just now I was happily, she sent you a psychic message and you asked, that's why she's sitting there all innocent now. Now we know your style. You two are partners in crime. That's why I was sharing with Anne just now. We both have agreed. Simply by believing and accepting and wanting the life doesn't bring any life. Because I'm sure there have been times, many thousands of years ago, some of these people you thought your life was strangled, not anymore maybe. She's saying, no, not so far away.
You know what happened the last 2 days? I've been sitting there like a fly on the wall.
Well, it's better than looking like a thorn in the wall like me.
That's true. It's like I know that there's things I'm going forward into, and I have a person who I use, not she's a guru, but she's very psychic, very powerful, and I bounce off things with her, and she said, you know, every time you have to move forward to do something, you balk. And I keep seeing this picture of a donkey. You know the donkey where it goes, puts its feet down like
and you're pushing.
That's me. I'm going, oh, I don't want to do this next bit. I really don't want to do this next bit. And, you know.
See how honest you are?
Oh.
And that honesty is what makes you a teacher. Because, let me tell you right now, let me share with you. All of us have that resistance. That resistance arises from the selfish mind that doesn't want to learn. And that tells us, for me, I don't know about you guys, I'm not awakened. Because I still have resistance to things I have to do. I do it, and I do it the best I can. But I still have that resistance, you know what it is attachment to the comfort zone and not wanting to embrace others' pain.
Definitely don't want to put myself into
any
that
type of
highlighted spot that you're talking about.
Yes.
You know, I know I've been backing off that one for a long time. I don't want to have people, because I know that you do get people poking things.
It will be non-stop.
It's nice now because the people are small groups, they're friendly, and another. I haven't got rude messages coming on my YouTubes and things yet, but I know I will. I know I will.
Get ready.
Can I tell you? Text you.
You can text me. We'll do it on another level.
Have you got this one?
You get ready. You will not imagine the things they will write on the comment section, and when you read it, you will have unconditional love. Because if you don't, you'll write something nasty back and say, shut up. No, but I dare not. See, you can...
You can't do that.
No, we can't.
We can't do that.
Because if we do that, we're not going to advance in our practice.
We're not. And it doesn't really help.
No, it doesn't. You're absolutely right, it doesn't. So what Anne and I have agreed upon is this is definitely, we will take rebirth again and again and again. And whatever we've done in our previous lives, we can learn a lesson. But the action or the residual results will not go away on its own. Hence, all the sufferings that we feel, all the anxieties that we feel, and all the problems that come down to us like monsoon rains will continuously come down to us in this life and next life. Do you know why? Because the action is done. The lesson is learned. But the result is still dormant. It's put away on the big shelf. Therefore, when we do spiritual practice, part of it is to purify the karma, the action. The next one is to make sure we don't do it again. Hence, when we do idam practices or meditational practices on certain enlightened beings that are established, we will have no doubt. Example, when we take refuge in Tsongkhapa, when we communicate with Tara, or when we take full refuge in Setra, there is no doubt they will guide us. And let me tell you something. The beautiful things about these beings is this. They don't operate on the basis of wanting something from you because they need nothing from you. They're already awakened. The most beautiful thing is when we die and we take on a rebirth, they will be contactable again and again, because at a young age when you see them, you will feel familiarity because you were used to them from a previous life. So therefore it behooves us to take 100% refuge in someone like Tara, someone like Tsongkhapa, someone like Setra. Why? They're not the only ascended masters, but they're guaranteed. They're guaranteed. They're not the only one. Definitely not, but they're guaranteed. And also, when we do their mantra, when we do their meditation, based on what Anne has shared with us, on letting go of the resistance. Because resistance is selfishness. Amen. Say so. Resistance is selfishness.
It is.
Yes. And as long as we have that resistance and we're selfish, we can be the greatest teacher in the world, but we will get nowhere. Having knowledge and practicing is very different. I speak very well, but you used to see me in the background. I just watch videos all day.
Nonsense.
So therefore, she's witty, isn't she? You've been spying on me and your astral body. You've got to stop.
You want to watch out.
I'm going to have to stay dressed from now on. I don't want you to see my cellulite.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, you got that third eye crease. I'm going to keep my clothes on from now on. Me and Lynn will have to go to that farm in Australia soon. You know what farm that is, the slimming farm. And you're going to do the morning session. She's cute, I like her. So therefore, what I want to share with all of you is this, long, long ago, in the time of the previous Buddha called Kechara, because there are many awakened masters that manifest at different times in our universe to share knowledge when people are ready. During the time of the previous Buddha, Kechara, there was a very beautiful princess. Her name was Moon Princess. Moon Goddess, Chandra Devi. And she didn't want to get married. She didn't want money. She wasn't into beauty. She wasn't into men. She wasn't into all the things that a princess are labeled they're supposed to do. But she was very beloved by her father for being a forthright, straightforward, very nice girl that was very compassionate to the poor. And so when the Buddha came into their kingdom to give a teaching, Chandra Devi would always go for the Dharma talks and listen. And she was very moved by Lord Buddha's speech and compassion and gave her realization of what life is about. So she wanted to always attend the teachings, and when the monks arrived, she would provide huts, alms, mats, banana leaves, groves that belonged to the kingdom for them to rest and relax and also give discourses. So she would use a lot of the treasury money to sponsor the Buddha and sponsor his Sangha and sponsor the very poor people. And the father never stopped her because he knew, well, he was very wealthy, and also he knew that she's very kind. And therefore, one day, when this princess was walking down the road, an old monk who was very sincere, very kind, not very knowledgeable, but very kind, said to her, "Oh, Moon Princess, we thank you for sponsoring us. I fold my hands in respect to your generosity and kindness, and we appreciate it so much. I will dedicate, and you should also, the merits received that you should reincarnate in your next life as a man. Because as a woman, you're polluted, you're dirty, and you can never become enlightened." Tara, having studied the higher tantras, and having listened to the Buddha, folded her hands and said, "Venerable old monk, with respect you are wrong. The Buddha has taught that it's equal. Physiologically it's different, but mentally it is exactly equal. And I can attain enlightenment, and I will attain enlightenment." And there and then, she took a vow. And she said to the old monk, because he is still a monk, even though his knowledge is wrong, "From now on, I will always reincarnate as a woman, as a female, in many, many worlds. And when I attain enlightenment, I will remain a woman, and I will stay a woman, and I will liberate thousands of beings through light, through meditation, through blessings, through communication, as a woman." and from henceforth I will dedicate my merits towards that. And she attained enlightenment. She retreated to a cave, receiving teachings from the Buddha. She meditated, she practiced for many aeons. She became a fully enlightened being. Today, one of the main practices in Buddhism is the Buddha, the female Buddha, Tara. She is very, 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 very powerful for developing unconditional love. Do you know why? Because she has already developed it. So she can give you what she has. You cannot get from someone what they don't have. Number one. Number two, due to her unconditional love and freedom of harming any sentient being. That means she has no will to harm others. And the imprints of harming others from previous lives have been purified. So hence, because of her great compassion of purifying her imprints, she can protect you from vicious animals, snakes, tigers, lions. She can protect you and help you reverse poisons. She can help you from drowning. She can rescue you and take care of you from the earth, air, wind, and fire disruptions, such as wind and fire and tornadoes. She can protect you from negative energy and spells. She can protect you from people who speak against you falsely and try to ruin your life. She has that power, but we can tap into it. So my guru told me, one day one Tibetan man in front of me I watched brought a small clay image of Tara. Her name means savioress. Savioress on two levels. Savioress of yourself and savioress. Brought an image of her to my guru to bless, and he scolded him. And he says, if it has her image on it, it needs no blessing. It needs no blessing. And then the guy said, please, he goes, okay, to satisfy your mind, I do a blessing, but it needs no blessing. So to see Tara's image, to wear Tara's image, to recite her mantra, to connect with her, is very powerful for whatever work you're already doing. You see, Tara doesn't come tell you you're wrong, 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 wrong. Tara enhances whatever you're doing and benefits others. If you're a nurse, she increases your healing abilities. If you're a counselor, a teacher, she increases your abilities. Why? On the principle of contacting an enlightened master. And in Tibet, India, Nepal, Mongolia, where her practice is prevalent for thousands of years, there are many cases of Tara statues speaking. There are many cases of people having visions of Tara and her talking to him. And out of the deities, Tara and Tsongkhapa are the deities that appear to people the most. They have a very strong connection to this world. So therefore, wearing the image, reciting her mantra, especially if we're going to do some work, before we travel, if we do a short meditation on Tara, recite her mantra, connect to her. And we visualize all the energy in the universe. Lama Yeshe used to say that. Visualize all the energy in the world into her, and we tap into her energy, recite her mantra. It's very powerful. And the mantra itself is pure love. So when you recite the mantra, it pervades your body with the energy of love. It plants the imprints for you to give love. Okay? So this energy is very, very powerful. I don't want you to pray to her. I want you to connect to her. I don't want you to fall on the ground and take her as your savior. I want you to look at her as someone that you can become. An enlightened, awakened being. And Tara, Mother Tara, manifests in 21 principal forms. Sometimes she manifests as an old hag with her breasts hanging down and fierce to scare away your inner demons, to scare away your anger, to scare away what you look like when you're not in your best. Sometimes she can manifest as a beautiful young maiden, but her principal form is green in color. Green represents the element of air. Air is the quickest element. So when she manifests in a green color, it represents she's able to come to your aid swiftly. Her left hand is in the form at her heart like so. This represents I am past, present, and future energies. I am all good energies from the past, present, and future. It encompasses the three worlds. All worlds are in me. I am Mother Tara. Then in this hand, she manifests the mantra of giving. This hand gives you wisdom. This hand gives you love. This hand gives you guidance and protection. And she sits not like this. She sits like this, like a mother looking at her child, with love and a lot of affection. And her breasts are full and erect and naked. Why? Because she's showing you she is free from labels. No one can call her good or bad. Nobody. And it's full. Why? A mother's breasts feeds the whole world. Her breasts, when you partake of it, brings you to alignment. So it's not a real suckling of the breast. It is symbolic. Then one of her leg is up, one of her leg is down, meaning although she is enlightened, she stays in meditation, and her other leg is down, meaning when you call upon her, she's ready to stand up and assist you. And she wears the 5 ornaments of enlightened being. The ornament of giving, the ornament of asceticism, the ornament of wisdom, the ornament of great patience. She wears those ornaments to represent who she is. She's divine, she's green, she's full of light, and she's full of compassion. Endless. And when we tap into her energy, every single day, we can combine everything that's positive in her. So therefore, she sits in a pose like this with a very gentle, very happy smile, looking, not condescending, but very loving, very accepting. Why? She knows you're not a Buddha. She knows you're not awakened yet. Yet she accepts you as you are. Accepting you as you are doesn't mean you stay as you are. It means she accepts you, but she will love and help you. So today what I want to do is, for my esteemed guests, I want to offer a representation. Don't be so greedy. She's already like, I'm just playing with you. And you too, what you're sniggering at. You love Tara now. Now what I want to do with my esteemed guests is I want to offer all of you a representation of Tara as a memory of our meeting.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Yes, as a memory of our meeting. In no way am I telling you to follow what I believe, but what I'm sharing with you is today we have shared knowledge together and we have interacted. And I don't want you guys to leave saying, well, that was a nice conversation. I want you to look at the shelf and say, something was happening.
Definitely, definitely. Bless you, that's beautiful.
Not at all. I will give you something all very beautiful. And any more questions?
No.
Answered. Any more questions? Good. I'm going to do a little short dedicational prayer that blesses all of us. I don't bless you, the energy that I invoke. Then after that, I'm going to present all of you with a representation of very holy, unconditional love, green Tara. And then we're going to let you go and rest because I know you have a big schedule tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Not at all.
Thank you so much.
Not at all. Not at all.
So much already. My shelf's getting quite heavy.
It's better to have a heavy shop than an empty shop. Chigi, Chabale Bale Bale, Yawadi, Lama Sanji, Joa Chigaman, Di Sana, Chuji Jabo Zana, Chuji Nabo, Getting Shaman, Chuji Bon, Datin Jennifer, Johnny Latin, Joa Losan, Demba Yuri, Ba,